Hi there, I wanted to do a quick update, but as you can understand, I will need to speak in code/metaphor somewhat, so please decode the metaphors. I apologise if this is difficult for some of you to do so, but I'm sure you understand the reasons behind it. Preserving the presentation of my Crystal Palace landscape in cyberspace is important at this point. For further discussion, you can find me on all the main social media platforms and the lesser-known MeWe, Gab, Parler and Minds. Apologies for the comments having been turned off as well. I really miss reading your comments. But again, preservation of the Crystal Palace is really important at this point. I want to be able to reach you all. So before I start, I just wanted to say that everything you hear me say in this broadcast is research for my fictional dystopian fantasy novel that I am working on. Everything I say here is therefore fiction, and any resemblance to persons living or deceased is purely coincidental. Any resemblance to current situations is due to the urban setting of the novel. So now we have that out of the way, I want to say that the updates here are specific to the situation with the United Kingdom and the United States regarding information I have received from the Nine and from remote viewing the timelines. Obviously, this is significant for every country, as the same control structure stands behind each leader for each country, if you know what I mean, with a few that do not, but the majority do. Therefore, what happens in one country has a knock-on effect to all the other countries, most especially what occurs in the United States and what will occur in the upcoming election. So if you view the Earth as a flat disk, metaphorically, not literally, then the United States would be the central point for the current energies, both for the downfall of the controllers and for the uprising and subsequent construction for the new Earth, Aquarian Age, Paradise timeline and reality. All the energetics then spill out into the other countries surrounding the central United States point, which is the new Atlantis. Each country within Europe will each have similar structures, movements in place, and this would also include Australia somewhat. The energies are obviously complex, convoluted, and unique within each place. But this will give you some idea of the picture from a spiritual and psychic viewpoint. So firstly to the UK, and remember I am discussing here the template of a novel. As you probably are all aware by now, the crowned king of the United Kingdom announced the retreat to your dwellings and the shutting down of the trading will occur on November the 5th. The announcement for this was planned to coincide with the high energetics of the Samhain Gateway and the full moon, as the galactic mirror manifestation is fully known to the controllers. Therefore, England was used as a focus for this due to the ancient stargates and energies that are in this country. November the 5th, retreat to one's dwellings and the ceasing of trading, is a symbol. November the 5th is a symbol, as this is the day that holds the energies of Guy Fawkes. So if you know the story of Guy Fawkes, you will understand that this is a big symbol, a big message. The retreat to one's dwelling is said to end at the beginning of December. However, at this point in the timelines, this is looking like this will not be the case. The people will be asked to do something, and then they will be told to do that something. This something is connected to testing and to vaccines. If you do not comply with this request, then you will need to remain within the dwelling and cease the trading, but the Nine say restrictions you can live with if you are aware and connected. So this is the basic presentation. There are many nuances and secondary dark plans branching off from this template. One thing the 9 made clear to me. They said the first wave succeeded, pretty much. The second wave, which is where we are now, will succeed, but not to the level of the first. It is the third wave that will fail. This is when everything falls apart for the controllers. Now, I do know why this fails, but due to the fact that the controllers' minions are listening in to this broadcast, I simply cannot say. All I can tell you is it is to do with the underestimation of the human spirit. So we are now, November 2020, we are now in what they call second wave. This is presented as second wave of a germ, but it is also simultaneously a second wave of awakening. The awakening in this second wave will be huge. Enough to put a dent in their plans and throw them off kilter and delay them, potentially change them somewhat, but not enough to stop them. But big nevertheless, and you are all playing your part in this. The second wave may also be referred to as second retreat to your dwellings. Up until the point of the third wave, it will look like the order of the world new, full steam ahead. You won't be able to see New Earth without some level of empathy, insight, psychic ability or clairvoyance. Your brothers and sisters who do not have this will think this is the end. And this is where the healers are called in big time. The third wave, also known as the third retreat to your dwellings, is when everything fails and falls. This will be the time of the third wave of germ, but also the third wave of awakening. This will reach critical mass on a physical level. Now, we are already at critical mass of consciousness, but this needs to filter into the physical third dimension, and this happens at the third wave. So this is a very basic picture as a fictional novel template of the story. Our protagonist is, of course, you and only you. You are indeed the hero that saves the world. Remember that, because it's a crucial part of the plot. So over in the United States, the King of America is being challenged for his throne. Now, he plays fair, but his challenger, who is not up to the task at all, has a group of controllers behind him who do not play fair, and they are pulling his strings. Now, the king has to be voted in this royal system, and remote viewing the votes that have already been cast, with the assistance of the 9, have shown me that this current king has actually already won. By looking at the votes that have already been cast through remote viewing, the current king has actually already won. However, the controllers who stand behind the challenger to the king have dastardly plots up their sleeves, and they will try to pretend that the challenger is actually the winner and the new rightful king. And many will believe this. They will want it to be true, because many absolutely despise the current king, because they have been lied to about him repeatedly from the controllers' puppets who deliver the news on television. So, our protagonist of the story, that is you, sets out to do what he can to tell the world who is the rightful winner of the throne. This causes a lot of chaos, a lot of anger and fighting. And this is the most probable timeline for the story at this point. I wish I could deliver better news to the readers of this story, but this is what occurs within this particular chapter. Now, there is a second plot line, an alternative plot line. It's of a much lower probability, but it would be that the king has a clean win that is unchallenged. That, as I said, is of a lower probability. It is more likely that the plotline I will use in this novel is the one where the king is challenged. So, in this story, we have arguments over who is the rightful king. So this will then have to go before the High Council, so they can look at the evidence and see who is the rightful winner to the throne of America. The point is, the organic and rightful winner is the current king, and he will be declared king once more. But this declaration will cause strife and chaos. So, we have the fight for the right of the throne in America, and we have the retreat to the dwellings in Europe and in the United Kingdom and also in other places, all going on at the same time. And there is one more thing here which is quite important in this plot. The rightful king has something huge up his sleeve. He captured some criminals and they gave him some information. Now, this information will start to come out around now, November 2020, but the really big and shocking information will come out at the time of the third wave, which is another reason why the third wave does not work and it fails. So this is just a very basic template for this novel. And what I would say is that if you have not yet cast your vote for the current king within this story, then I would urge you to do so. For his remaining on the throne is an absolutely major piece of the puzzle that leads to the liberty of Earth. As I said, there are many nuances and branches, but these are the main threads within the template. Remember, the protagonist and the hero or heroine of this story is you, and that is the most crucial plotline. Apologies for such a condensed presentation. You can send questions regarding different plot twists or ideas for your own novel to my email or find me on social media. I will do further broadcasts in response to your questions to the best of my ability. Once I'm in my place, in my dwelling under the English King's decree, I will have more time. But up until Guy Fawkes Day, I'm busy catching up with family and friends who will also be retreating to their dwellings. And we all wanted to see each other before this. So I expect many across the country are doing the same. I expect I will be up to the early hours watching the results of the American kingship come in. But remember, through remote viewing of votes already cast, he has already won. So blessings to all. With love, Magenta Pixie.